Earlier this year, RuneScape's early game got rebalanced, and now the mid-game is also getting touch-ups in today's mid-game rebalance preview. Our main index of changes include a core fletching retiering, meaning that many requirements in the fletching skill are being changed and shifted around, an agility rebalance, divination rebalance, changes to the God Wars dungeon, a lot of general changes, and some drop rate changes as well. Let's start off with the fletching retiering then. They say, in short, this update aims to address most inconsistencies currently present in the fletching skill. They want to ensure there's a consistent training method throughout the skill and a logical pathway to progress through it. Current problems include certain weapons and ammunition in fletching requiring skills that are out of sync. As an example, you could think of smithing in old school, where rune requires level 90 smithing, but it creates level 40 stuff. This was largely fixed on the RuneScape version of the game with the mining and smithing rework, so now all of those levels make a lot more sense. You have 80 mining and smithing that creates level 80 armor, so they're doing a similar thing here with fletching that sort of ties into the range skill as well. I wouldn't say it's the same scale as the mining and smithing rework, but it's the same idea, right? They use rune arrows as an example. Currently they require level 75 fletching, but a ranged and smithing and mining level of 50. So with the changes, they would likely change rune arrows down to 50 fletching as well, so that they match the mining, smithing, and range requirement. Here we got some bullet points. They're changing the level requirement for U short bows up to 70. They're also making U short bows and long bows members items, so free players will now be using maple and acacia bows rather than U bows. In the case of item levels being adjusted, they will change drop tables and shop inventories to reflect the level range that it's supposed to be at. Achievements and quests will have their requirements adjusted as well, so if you need to make, let's say, a U longbow for a quest, that would now be tiered to the new level requirement. Shield bows are being removed from the game and instead being changed into longbows. They say they're doing this because there's data showing shield bows are basically never used, and that is very true. Shield bows have worse DPS than regular bows, so people often opt for the DPS bows rather than the shield ones. They say it's especially because shield bows are sort of a trap for new players. They don't realize they're doing vastly lower damage when using a shield bow because it's effectively a sword and a shield, and that does less damage. I mean, it's in the name, but it's not obvious that they do less damage, so that's why they're being removed. All current shield bows will gain a +1 range when converted to longbows, so you'll be able to attack from further away with longbows. But the strike bow specifically will remain a shield bow, and they're curious to hear if you would like the dark bow to continue being a shield bow, or if you would like that to be changed as well. I've largely ignored shield bows their entire existence, so I don't have any strong opinions on this really. I am happy they're making the level requirements make more sense though overall. So Bane ammo will be changed from having its own special creation method to be unified with regular arrows and bolts. You will now use the Tune Bane ore spell on the bolts instead of the ore before making the items, and Tune Bane ore will also still be cast on Dino arrows to enchant them into Jas Demon Bane arrows. The way primal ammunition is made is also being unified to work the same way as regular ammo, so they're changing arrows and ammunition here to all have the same system of creation, and I like that. They also say this isn't a whole skill remaster, they're just doing certain items in it, so they've not done anything with darts, knives, or javelins. Those are staying exactly the same. Really, darts, knives, and javelins are not used very often in RuneScape, so they're not really a priority. People mainly use crossbows and bows. They even say that in-game usage of those items, the knives, darts, and javelins, is very low, so that's why they've decided to not do anything with those. They are keen to come back to them in the future, though, to consider their position in the broader game. But before we continue, make sure you like the video and subscribe. Okay, that's all I wanted to say. So let's look at some level changes for fletching. So short bows are still level 1. Oak is being changed to level 10 from 20. Willow was 35 fletching before, but 20 in all the other skills, so now it's 20 fletching as well. Maple was 50 fletching, but only 30 range. So the fletching level of Maple is being changed to 40, and the range level is also being changed to 40. So I guess there's a gap now at 30 range. Acacia bow didn't exist before, so that's being added at level 50. U short bow was 65 before, but only 40 range, so that's being changed to 70 range now and 70 fletching. Magic short bow was level 80 fletching before. It's still staying at 80 fletching, but the range level is being increased to 80. So magic short bows now require 80 range in RuneScape. Elder bows is staying the same fletching, but the range level to use elder short bows is being increased from 60 to 90. That's pretty wild. Elder shortbows are now level 90 range. And Eternal Magic shortbows are staying exactly the same with 100 fletching requirement and level 99 range to use. Now, I think it's a little bit weird that there's a gap at 30 and 60. There's no bows now for level 30 range and level 60 range. I guess you need 45 wood cutting to do maples, right? So having them at 40 range and 40 fletching makes sense. I'm not really sure what you would put at level 30 because Willow's level 20 now. But I do find it weird that, like, Acadia is 50, that makes sense. But why is Yew 70 instead of 60? If Yew was 60, Magic was 70, and then Elder was 80, I guess it leaves a gap at 90, and I'm not really sure how you'd fill that either. So since Elders are 90 woodcutting, it makes sense that they're level 90 range, I guess, but yeah, I guess it leaves reward spaces open, but it's not like a lot of people will be jumping on level 30 and 60 bows anyway, I guess. I feel like it's important to note that while the range levels on the new bows and crossbows do seem quite high, you might be worried about your Noxious bow, for example. You can't augment crafted items through invention. Elder Rune cannot be augmented. The same is going to be true for these new range items. So the weapons that are dropped from monsters will still be more valuable and also higher damage because they can interact with invention. As for longbows, a lot of them have a +5 level requirement to the regular bows. Some of them are not consistently leveled, but now they all have a 5+ increase over the short bows, I guess. The range levels do not have a +5 requirement though, so you can still use those at round levels. I guess important to note that they are adding Acadia longbows and Eternal Magic longbows at 55 and 105 respectively. They say they're not planning to introduce teak and mahogany short and longbows as these are considered hardwoods, and that's entirely unsuitable for use in bow fletching. So that's why there are gaps, I guess. As for crossbows, they're adding a whole range of new ones. They're adding Orichalcum crossbows, Necronium crossbows, Bane crossbows, and Elder Rune crossbows. The wood used to create these is, as you would expect, it even adds teak in here. So it's wood, oak, willow, teak, maple, Acadia, mahogany, yew, magic, and elder. So you've got every single log accounted for here, and Eternal Magic, of course, at the bottom. For the primal crossbow, so in this instance, I guess this actually does fill in the gaps, because there will be a level 60 crossbow and a level 30 crossbow, with the Mithril crossbow being 30 and the Orichalcum crossbow being 60. So there's just gaps in bow usage at the moment, but not in crossbows. They're also adding a new range of arrows. They're adding Orichalcum, Necronium, and Elder Rune arrows. Bane arrows did already exist. They're making the level requirements for arrows also make more sense now, because you've got the old system here of level 1 for bronze, 15 for iron, 30 for steel. This is being changed to 1, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, up to 100. And the level requirements for arrows now matches the mining and smithing level to mine these resources as well. So Necronium, like you would be mining at 70, now creates Necronium arrows at 70 fletching as well. So it all makes sense. There's a lot of numbers here and information, but it's all the same tiers as we're used to from the mining and smithing update. It's crazy also that half of this blog is just a fletching retiering. The same goes for bolts. They're adding Orichalcum, Necronium, and Elder Rune bolts for the crossbows. I'm not going to go through all the numbers, but they have a full list here for you nerds who want to dive into the numbers here. But yeah, all the requirements line up with the mining and smithing requirements. Moving on to agility rebalance. What are they doing with agility? They are rebalancing all the rest of the courses all the way up to 99 agility. They're not doing a whole lot of exciting stuff, but they are rebalancing all the experience rates. So all level requirements for courses are staying the same, but the experience is going up, generally speaking. Staying the same or going up. The formatting is really annoying because I can't easily see a graph here of all the numbers in one go. I have to keep scrolling back and forth. From this graph, we can see that a couple courses are getting small changes, a couple courses are getting a lot of changes. The level 40 to 60 range is not changing a whole lot. Apatol, 6% increase, Anachronia, 25% increase. The Wilderness course and Het's Oasis is not changing at all. It says that the new experience per hour is lower despite no change, but I think they just done goofed the math here. If the lap experience is the same, there would be no difference in the, so this should be like that. This should be like that. There you go. There is no change in those. So the ones that are getting more of a significant change is the Bandos Throne Room, the Anachronia Advanced course. Heffen is getting a pretty sizable increase with a 50 to 70% increase across all levels. So you can start doing Heffen at 77, but the higher level you are, the more experience you get when doing the Heffen Prifddinas course. At 77, you're looking at a 70% increase, and then at like 97, it's a 50% increase. So your experience is going from like 100,000 up to 150,000, which is pretty good. The full Anachronia course isn't getting much of a change, but they are increasing the experience a little bit. The big winners of this change is the Dorgish Concourse, getting a massive increase from 50 up to 123. The Advanced Gnome course is also getting a massive increase, 65 up to 165. And then Advanced Barbarian Outpost is also getting a big increase from 70,000 an hour up to 190,000. I'm not sure if the Heffen values are during the Voice of Saren or not. They haven't specified that. So you might be able to get even higher with the Heffen course. Anachronia is sort of an odd one though, because it is disproportionately high compared to the other level requirements. Though the Anachronia course is difficult to calculate because it requires a lot of surging and diving around to get the best experience rates. You're not really running the course, you're more like diving strategically and surging at the right times. So there's a lot more skill expression involved for Anachronia to get the maximum experience out of it. In a lot of these other ones, you're simply running between obstacles. There isn't really room to surge or dive in any of those ones. Especially true for Barbarian Outpost and Heffen, because they're just run a couple squares to the next obstacle and then you do that one. So really, in my opinion, more courses should be like Anachronia, where there is skill involved in getting higher experience rates, because it is kind of fun trying to surge at the right moments and dive to the right spots so that you can get through the course as fast as possible. It's sort of like racing, you know? But yeah, those are your agility changes. Divination is also getting a rebalance, which it sorely needs. They say divination changes are a little bit hard to explain. They say instead of boosting the experience rates, they've focused on the gathering speed. They want to make sure that gathering energy feels more consistent through levels. So these changes are mainly focused on success rate when trying to gather energy. I'm gonna say I don't quite understand this, because they say, for example, in the case of gleaming energy, the increased gathering chance is plus 5% at 50, but then it decreases to 4% at level 60. And what they're saying here is there's a higher chance than listed for the first 10 levels after unlocking it, but then it slopes down, overall averaging out at the listed increase below. So Gleaming is getting a plus 4% success chance, Vibrant plus 3, Lustrous plus 2, Brilliant plus 1, Radiant plus 1, Luminous 0.6 plus, and Incandescent 0.5% success. What a weird change. I'm assuming it's a buff, but it doesn't seem like a very strong one. Yeah, I don't quite follow that one. If you guys understand what it means, could you try to explain it to me in the comment section, because I don't quite follow what they mean by this one. Next one, we have got God Wars Dungeon changes. Starting off with the God Wars Dungeon 1, they are actually changing how kill count works. You can now store up kill count and it will not be removed when you leave the dungeon. This change is similar to how God Wars Dungeon 2 works, where you can just do a lot of kill count and then you can grind out the boss for a couple times. So the kill count will be capped at 200. You can store it up, you can leave, come back, and you'll still have the same amount of kill count. And because of this change, they are removing the Omni Soul Stone, which lets you store kill count in it, for the Armadillian, Bandos, Saradomin, and Zamorakian boss encounters. So the Soul Stones are being removed completely. They're also making some changes to God Wars Dungeon 2. They say that people often out-level the dungeon before they get the rewards and all the reputation unlocks, so they're keeping the reputation system, but they are removing some things from it. The maximum reputation will be decreased to 2,000 instead of 5,000, and the rewards will be rescaled to match the full range of 2,000 reputation, but they're also removing the drop rate increases from the reputation system. Connected to this, they are making a flat drop rate for all rares in God Wars Dungeon 2, and the new drop rate for these unique items will be the current highest chance of finding the item, which is fantastic news. It means no more grinding for reputation. That was horrible during the previous league. It just felt really bad because you'd get drop rate increases from leagues, and then that wouldn't matter because you'd still have a higher chance in main game to get it, because the reputation was so strong. So just removing that whole system is good in that case. And to get the cosmetic rewards and unlocks, you still do the reputation system, but you don't feel punished for doing the dungeon before the reputation grind. I like that change a lot. That's good stuff. Now on to general changes. They say the Demonic Skull is in an awkward position, as most of the benefits of using it have been removed, and there's only a couple old systems still in place where it works. The general community has been advocating for it to be removed completely from the game, and Jagex agrees, so they are completely removing the Demonic Skull. If you have a Demonic Skull, you will be refunded the full amount in coins when it is removed. They continue by saying the dive ability is currently locked behind the Succession quest, which has level 60 mining and smithing requirements. So it adds a lot of additional requirements to something that you'd unlock unlock at a low level and just use for movement. So they say it feels more appropriate for this ability to just come from agility, which I completely agree with. So the new requirement for dive is going to be 30 agility to unlock, no longer having a quest on top of it. Red and Crystal Sandstone were altered with the DailyScape reduction earlier this year. A lot of feedback since then has been that it's too slow to collect, essentially. They say the recent rise in flask prices reinforces the idea that these are being consumed faster than they are being gathered. So they're making further adjustments to Sandstone in general. The hit points of the mining rocks are being reduced by 50. On top of this, the Sandstone with additional requirements, so the Red Sandstone by Sophanum, locked behind Elite Desert Achievement Diaries, and the Malier Crystal Sandstone in the Edemu Resource Dungeon has a dungeoneering requirement to enter. Both of these rocks are being reduced by 100 health, and this just means that they'll be far faster to mine, and you definitely want to go to the ones with additional requirements because they'll have vastly lower health. It'll be interesting to see how fast we can mine those with the reduced hit points on the rocks. There's some additional friction when obtaining harmonic dust at the moment, especially since the item was removed from traveling merchants, so you have to do the harps now to gather it. So they're increasing the rate of receiving it from harps by 20%, which, I mean, isn't a lot, but any increase is a good increase, I guess. I think it could be higher than that, to be honest. Next up, instances. They teased this a long time ago. They are completely removing instance costs from all boss encounters, which they have said they were going to do a while back, and then there was no news of it for a long time there. But they're finally doing it with the mid-game rebalance. No more paying to enter a private boss encounter. Though they do specify that for bosses where Ascension Keystones are required, or Key of the Crossing, and Barrow's Totems, those do still require those items. The coin requirement is being removed from everything, but item requirements are not. They mentioned the Jad pet that you can get from Soul Wars, or for minigame Thaler currency. They say it's weird that a pet connected to a boss so specifically comes from minigames, and they want to change that. So they're moving the Jad pet onto the Jad drop table. Makes far more sense in my opinion. It's also being added to the Jad collection log as well. I'd be interested to know if you could get the Jad pet from the Tizcall Jads in Fight Kiln, and also the ones by Zuck. It'd be far faster to get them from those locations because there's more Jads in faster time frame. And final general change, Gem Bag is being updated. They are increasing the capacity of Gem Bag up to 100 of each gem, as well as including the Jade, Opal, and Red Topaz gems in both versions of the Gem Bag. That's great stuff, I like that. Gem Bag got some love on Old School as well recently, so it's nice that both games are giving some updates to Gem Bag. Now we've got drop rate increases. We like buffs, so what are we upgrading? We're getting Dragon Pickaxe drop rate changes. They say it's crazy how rare Dragon Pickaxe is for a mid-game item. It's going from 1 in 5,000 down to 1 in 3,000 from Chaos Dwarfs, and it was 1 in 10,000 from Chaos Giants. It's now being reduced to 1 in 1,000. So far more common. That's good to see because that grind was horrible for Ironman specifically. Sanguine Crawlers and the Vampirism Gloves are having a change. They're changing the drop rate so that Vampirism Gloves are 1 in 200 when on a Slayer task, and 1 in 1,000 when they're not on a Slayer task. So those are both buffs, I believe. Corp Beast is also getting some sigil drop rate changes. Corp Beast drop rates have never really made sense because the Spectral Sigil was more common than the other ones. They're doubling the drop rate of sigils from 1 in 500 down to 1 in 250, and all sigil types now have an equal chance of dropping as a 1 in 4 chance. No more weird inconsistencies there. And finally, Linza the Disgraced, an additional Barrows encounter. You can unlock her at Barrows through the Majrat storyline. They've been the bane of collection loggers for a long time because they're more rare than other Barrows items. Instead of being 1 in a 200 chance, they're now 1 in 100 chance. So they're doubling the drop rate of Linza items as well. A lot of information, a lot of good stuff. It's some things I don't quite understand, like the Divination changes. I mean, they sound positive. I'm so glad to see the Demonic Skull being removed though, because it's another nail in the coffin against removing PvP from RuneScape. I mean, luring, nobody realistically PvPs, it's just luring at this point. People like the changes, 97% upvote on Reddit. Personally, to me, I don't think a lot of things will change how I interact with the game because I am past the point of all these things, right? But it's a mid-game balance patch. I think it's good that they're smoothing out the mid-game. A lot of the things they're touching on are pain points to have been brought up over the years as well, so it's good to see things like that being updated. And really, I'm also happy on the inside that they are changing this because I know that for future RuneScape leagues, I will be interacting with these new systems and it will make the league experience better. So I am happy that they are doing these things. It will benefit me at some point, so that's good. Let's see what people are saying about the update. Glad to see Demonic Skull being removed. They didn't say anything about if the bonus experience you get for using the Demonic Skull will be repurposed though, so that is something that would be interesting to know. Here's a good point actually. They forgot to mention the Artificer's Measure. You create it through archaeology and crafting, but it is not a mid-game item. It is level 99 crafting and 102 archaeology to make it. But you do use the upgraded gem bag to create this item, so maybe it's just because it was outside the scope of mid-game, that's why they didn't mention it at all. But this is the end goal of your gem bag, essentially. So I don't know if that one is also going to be able to hold Jade, Opal, and Topaz. For the high-level rebalance, maybe they will change it then, if not right now. There's a bug with Artificer's Measure where you can store noted gems in the normal gem bag, but you can't do it with the Artificer's Measure. I didn't realize that was the case. I didn't think you could do noted gems in any of the bags. Thank you for changing the dive ability. My timeline constricted Iron Man is very happy right now. Happy to see Jad Pet being added to collection log and onto the boss drop table. Drop rate boosts seem fine. Linza is in a weird spot because you wouldn't really go for her set anyway because it's a shield and sword combo. Tanking isn't really that useful, but it is nice for collection loggers. Dive and sandstone changes seem nice. Harps being boosted 20% doesn't feel enough. Easy win for the gem bag. Love the God Wars Dungeon 2 changes. Nice that fletching is being changed to be viable for Ironman players. Don't forget that there's achievements tied to creating the soul stones. There's also achievement for killing mini bosses in elite dungeons with a demonic skull. Change it to a different demonic item maybe. I know it will be flagged eventually, regardless as a bug, so they'll fix it at some point. The agility changes are really nice, but I do agree with a lot of the sentiment here that agility, it in its core skill needs a lot of love, both in RuneScape and in old school. I think they could make agility more fun if they do more courses similar to Anachronia. And that's not necessarily an easy thing to do because the Anachronia course spans over a whole island, so you need a massive area to be able to do these things. But incorporating more surging and diving and maybe even escaping into agility courses would actually train people into learning how movement works in RuneScape, where it's all about moving between obstacles as fast as possible using your movement abilities. I'd personally like to see more of that in potential like course restructuring if they were to change courses up, give them a larger area span. It's a whole video in itself, to be honest, talking about how they could change agility, which isn't a bad idea. Maybe I should do something about that. Waiting 10 plus years to go for Barrows and Corp Log have finally paid off. I've done Corp Log, I have not done Barrows though. Bruh, triple the harmonic dust or just remove it from the game. 20% buff is nice, but honestly, yeah, still increase it more, please. Literally every change here is something I've had minor disdain for back when I did Group Iron Man with a few buddies. Excited to jump in again at the end of the year with fresh accounts. Solid changes, thanks Jagex. A lot of positive comments. People generally just have questions about how things are going to work, how new systems are changing and stuff like that. So more elaboration would be nice from different moderators, but other than that, it's a lot of positivity. Succession quest should unlock double dive. Yeah, hell yeah, let's do that. One person here says, how is the Anachronia course going from 20,000 per lap to 22,000 per lap, which is only a 10% increase, but the experience increase is 32%. And basically the explanation for that is that they're also buffing the novice section and the, I guess, mid-game section of the course, because there's effectively 3 level sections of the Anachronia course. And so collectively, they are increasing by a larger amount than just 10%. Don't have much to add, but the dark bow should 100% become a longbow because as it is now, it's one of the earliest augmentable range weapons that does less damage than a magic short bow. That's a fair point. I agree with that. Change it to a longbow. I didn't even consider it, but because they're adding so many new types of bolts, there's going to be a whole ton of new gem-tipped bolts as well. I'm glad I'm not the only one who is struggling to understand the divination changes. I felt like I'm having a stroke with this one. What on earth do you mean by the divination changes? It reads like a trippy dream. Are we getting more energy, more experience? Same, man, same. I don't understand. There's hundreds of comments, so I'm cutting it off there. What do you think of the changes to mid-game? Drop that in the comments below. It looks good to me. I think there are things they could push even further, like the harmonic dust change I think could be even higher. But at the end of the day, all these are popular changes that have been asked for a long time, so it's amazing to see that they're being implemented now. There was no release date included in the blog, so we don't know when this is coming out yet, but I'd assume it's coming out soon, within the next couple of months most likely. Please like the video, subscribe for more RuneScape, and I'll see you in another video.